our employees and stay with our cost structure. So, I felt good about 3%.
I'm certainly glad we had that conversation, a month ago almost, instead of having to do it now when the golf course is really coming along nicely. We were in a much better, bargaining position then coming out of it, and we would have been ready to do that in 6 months, but the golf course looks really, really good. Any questions from the committee on that? Next one, on the new golf cart lease, we have an opportunity, as we reported, the golf cart lease had expired at the end of September. We were scheduled to get the new carts in early October. Supply chain issues pushed that all the way to supposedly March 1st. We had to rent carts to make sure, because we had 20 down because the batteries go out, the controllers go out. We were able to, with these 82 AC cards, which is a different cart, but basically the same thing, came available, and we pulled the trigger on it. The 4-year lease at $10,002 a month, which isn't too far off the estimate of, I think it was 9,700 or whatever it was for the DC cards that we're going to. We got 2 more cards, so and all in all, that was very good. And they came last Thursday, so we are rocking and rolling with new AC cards that are very interesting to drive.
And to be clear, where does the money come from for golf carts?
Golf carts come from the cash flow of the business. The LLC pays all that.
What's an AC?
Alternating card. Electric car. It's not a gas car. It's an electric car. It's supposed to be more fuel efficient, take less. So they're saying that we're going to save substantially on electric costs in the cars going over the course of the lease. So we'll see in a couple of years, right?
So can you kind of report to us in the coming months about?
Yeah, I'm curious about that myself.
About that savings.
Right. Hopefully that is a utility expense, which is one of the expenses the amenities can be paid.
Right.
So that will get shown on the monthly reports that we get, that Scott produces for the board at the board meeting. We should see that at least in that category tick down. Any questions there? The pub update, the December venue events, we just finished Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the 7th, 8th, and 9th, 3 very, very successful events. All 3 of them, well, 2 of the 3, because the one's a rehearsal dinner. Hopefully he doesn't need another rehearsal dinner next year. But we're very, very well done. A lot of new people on the 7th and the 9th came to the building. Both the family elder law and the Polk taxes party have rebooked for next year, which is exactly what we want. We've got 2 this week on Thursday and Saturday. They as well, we hope and expect that they'll be successful, and we'll rebook as well. Corvette Club has been here 3 or 4 other times as well. We also have the Cypress Wood Festival of Lights Cart Parade. We've hired Key Sound Soul Band to entertain us. It's starting at 6 o'clock. A little bit later because it's on a Thursday. A lot of people are off that. We're still having a little bit later. We'll come back here and have a little Christmas party, or a big Christmas party, because last year there was 150 people in here, which is great. And as you can see, we have some very nice bands towards the Christmas weekend with Hunter McNears is always busy, and then of course Bee Haven is always busy on the 23rd, and then we kind of close down a little bit for the 24th and 25th to take a breath. And then it will get really busy after that with everything, I guess. A busy month. Here's the November sales for the pub. They didn't provide me with that. I think, if I'm remembering right, the November sales for last year was 46,000, if I'm remembering right. I did look at it, but I didn't get the report back from them to request those when they're over a year old. And as you can see, the Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, did the entertainment continue to drive sales as well as the events on those weekends. It is going well. Any questions on that number? Yeah, it's a little bit of a thing in the system. Some of the servers will use it to keep track of their pages a little bit.
It's not an active
It's
statistic.
not really, yeah, because you divide that out, it's like 7.
We really need to look into being consistent with that measure.
Right, yeah, we just had a training, a week ago Monday, and we covered that in there. So they'll be better for about 2 weeks, and then they'll start their laziness. We'll have to have another training soon after that. This is an interesting one, where you talk about customer service. This is credit card swipes. It's always interesting to me to look at how many new customers are turning on that ratio. It's also interesting to me to know that the new customers are primarily coming on that Thursday and Friday and Saturday to the bands. Returning customers are typically the golfers and the people who are here during the day. So it's a pretty interesting way the numbers kind of work themselves out. But that's a good number. And again, it's only swipes, and it's only people that have engaged Square in the information. If they've opted out, then they don't get served more than 17 or 19 people. So it's just a little snapshot. Mr. Shire likes to use that number to typically. Any questions on that? End of the year inventory will be done on the 2nd and 3rd of January. That'll be the quarterly inventory of all F&B. Part of the quarterly, weekly inventories are taken beer, wine, and liquor, and I put it in there, you can ask it, but we do a monthly inventory for merchandise. Just to keep the cost orders in mind.
In that quarterly inventory, have you seen a pretty consistent number, or have you seen any inventory growth?
It's inventory growth this time of year. The fourth and first quarters are typically higher. Grocery bills are insane right now in the wholesale market. For a typical week, last year we were $2,500 a week, and they're $3,900 a week. So of course prices have to go up, and people aren't going to eat an $18 hot dog, which is what you'd have to do to make money on it. So we have to make sure we have these events going on to supplement the club, which is what we're doing anyway. Don't talk to Dean for when they take an inventory. They're very prompt. This is really hard for the audience. Yeah, it's just hard to see because it's small. I'll try to load it. Here's the profit loss for November. Committee, you have it in front of you. Audience, you can see what you can see. As you can see, total income is up. Again, these numbers, they need to be taken at the end of the year because they kind of mesh into one month where things hit. Like all profit and loss do, we have growth across the board, and that's a good thing. And the guest fees in November get hit, not hit, but get bolstered by the sale of the Black Friday card rounds. This year we sold 714, and last year it was, I think, 530 in the same time period. We're still selling those. People are collecting them, the ones that reserved it, so we're going to get to 1,000, I think.
And that's all off the reservation purchases, not resident.
No, right, because the resident cards will be issued the first of the year, where the residents can renew their cards, get their benefits, and go on to the resident card, yes. Including the 2 free rounds of golf, as the committee has authorized. So just normal expenses. it's just, yeah, it's just all normal costs. This is the second half of it, just blow it up a little bit. You can see that the gross profit is up, really gross revenue. Bad choice of words by QuickBooks. That bangs over it. The equipment rental reflects some of the pieces of the golf cart rental as well as some of the pieces that are being leased. I'm gonna clean that up before we get done with the year to make sure that the lease stuff and the buy stuff are in their categories just a little bit. My accountant's working on that now. At the bottom, you'll see the Cypress Golf Course services. This from last year, this year, there's some rental stuff that we're getting from them until our equipment package is complete. We should get 2 or 3 more pieces maybe Friday. They're coming from that we work where we're going to lease them from or we're going to purchase them from. Cypress Golf Course services coming off one of their other properties. We retain ownership of all the equipment, not the contractor.
When you say we,
The LLC, sorry.
just to be clear,
Yeah.
the CCA doesn't own or.
They don't have, the CCA does not have any assets at all,
What,
besides the roads.
what pieces are they and what specialty do they provide?
We have a side winder, which is a trim mower around the green. We have a deep time aerifier coming. We have a blower to blow the, it's like a grass blower for the prairie mower. We have a spray rig coming, which is very important. We've also ordered you've seen the aerator that they used yesterday, the ProCore, that's a rental piece from, that's that was part of our original equipment purchase. Excuse me, it's replacing a rough mower that we've already bought from that original equipment package. So we're just trying to document, so you have the pieces here to continue the progress that we've made.
So do we lease the time pierce? I think you just said.
That one we're buying.
We're buying.
Yeah, most of them are 4 years, buy $1 at the end, that's what they are. There's certain pieces you don't wanna do that, like greens mowers, you just wanna keep the green mowers, the fine mowers. And I think those will be up, the middle of next year.
Bob, with the golf carts, I noticed that you're going to enforce the 2 people per cart.
Right.
Okay, does that being enforced now?
Trying to.
Okay.
We're just talking, we're trying to get, now that the golf course looks so much better, we're trying to impress some people that they have to do their part. I've done some videos on fixing ball marks and things like that, and just to print general awareness, but there's more and more people that are challenging their fellow golfers to take care of the golf course, fill their divots and do that, and you can see the difference that everybody's doing. So, you know, it's a challenge. We have privately owned carts, but it's still important because you're having 2 cars rather than 4 out there. It reduces wear and tear, so everybody needs to help and invite people to ride in their car. So that way we can sell ours and get more people on the golf course and you know, reduce the burden on the homeowners going forward.
How are your employees in the pro shop handling that? Are they doing a good job with it in your estimation, or are they just caving in right away when somebody says, I want my own cart?
I would say that most of the time it's pretty good. It's trickier when the tee's abandoned. When you know, it gets to 2 or 3 o'clock and you get singles coming out and then they're out there as single reservations, they don't have tee time. When we have somebody at the tee they have to, you know, they cry that they're sick, they cry that they got COVID, they cry they got all that, and so then, you know.
I think it's very important that they cooperate with the rules, because it does reduce the wear and tear on the cars.
Absolutely.
Eventually saves
Absolutely.
everybody money.
Yeah.
Makes everybody.
Well, and wear and tear on the golf course too.
Exactly.
Especially around the greens when people and patterns start to get much tighter, people are exiting the golf course into the cart path in the same road. Bill, did anything come from, the cart path thing with, Jeff? Were you involved with that part of it? Jeff did the,
No, I was waiting until, Mark and I are still gathering information on the different
materials.
materials, things that we can do. I also, and since you brought it up, I really also wanna talk to Scott Zacane. And if you don't mind, I'll contact him and see what kind of resources he can bring.
Yeah, we asked him at our meeting about that as well.
Oh,
Very open to that.
Yeah, they had 3 or 4 ideas, and they were gonna check their other, see what work. And we've got, some other people looking at other things. We're just trying to find a solution that,
They had used a system, that grid type system.
Yeah.
They had used that on the property, so
Oh,
they
good.
have some experience.
Now we have some experience with it.
right, we just
Good.
we need to do a test area, maybe some
Yep.
number 7 and see how it works.
Good.
So as you can see, the, 23 net income, is up 43,000, that boded well going into December. November's also, is traditionally the start of the season, so things are trending in a good direction. This is the January through November, the year to date. This is the one that I report off of at the CCA meetings, taking the total income, which is up 183,000.
Revenue.
Revenue, thank you, not income, doesn't go to Bob, right? Thanks, Ben, keep reminding me of that, Ben. So again, everything's, normal, you gotta watch numbers when you look at them, that looks like, oh my God, you're not spending any money on payroll, but you gotta add in the Cypress Golf Course maintenance contract. Everything is more expensive now. Everything is kind of the way it should be. There's that golf cart lease number, which will be, it'll end up at about 72,000, and next year will be 100 grand, so, or more. Maybe 120 grand. Which we knew was gonna come up. There's the equipment rental, the cost of that, of having equipment to do the job that they're doing. And Kevin, to your point, when you asked me about the rainfall, you see how they kind of blend in and end up being spiky one. Everything's kind of looking something out there. We saved a little bit on workers' comp, we haven't had any accidents in 18 months or so that's a good thing. Anyway, we're here, so we got it here, right?
This is, that is the.
Yeah, so the net income, 79,500 versus 10,600. And remember that last year, 2022 was a record year, so in December is not showing any sign, even with this weird weather, the El Nino. People are still playing golf and immediately finishing and trying to rebook and having difficulty doing so, which is a good problem to have. We'll continue to increase our rates as we increased last week, and we'll probably go up, probably give everybody a Christmas gift and go up on Christmas Day. It seems like an appropriate time to go up in rates.
Bob, just,
Wait a minute, wait, Bill?
no, just as something to think about as we go against that, your number of rounds are up 12%, but your income is, the revenue side is up, and this is just pure golf, this isn't merchandise and all that other stuff. That is up 14%, so, even though the rounds are up, the revenue is up more than the rounds are up. Which is one of the things we need to do with what we know the increases are in the cost of maintaining.
Yep, you have to keep blowing it out with revenue wise.
Yes, we would. Price versus competition.
Well, we're gaining in most of the competition. We do a survey every Monday, and that's where we kind of, we just have to, go up and challenge on the back end, because daylight hours, it's the 1:30, 2 o'clock tea times, was as busy as it is early, have difficulty finishing under certain circumstances, especially like a day like today, there's piles, but, you don't get the full, you get at 5:40, it's hard to see. So one of the last things I wanna do is have people paying for 18 holes and finishing 14. Just leave the bad taste in the mouth. So as we get past December 21st, and days start getting longer, we can push the break later and have higher rates earlier, and that's kind of what we do. With the dynamic pricing models that we are, we're a tea time partner, we're able to manipulate those to fit needs. For instance, we had an 8:30 tea time on Saturday that sold for 4 different prices depending on when the person bought it, which is a challenge at the desk. We have to be, but it's what it's designed to do, that if there's a lot of demand, the price keeps going up until somebody grabs it. Like an airline seat, that's kind of what it's based on. So that's a great asset we have with our tea time partner at Gulf Now. Any questions on that, guys? Yeah. All right.
And we'll talk to us about pool furniture.
Sure, so short and sweet, since we got the new furniture and everything, I piled up some of the old furniture that we were using before, and I just need to get rid of it. I'm if it's broke, fix it kind of person, so there are some things that somebody may be interested in, there are some things that I think that should just be thrown away. I just need advice from the committee as to how to go about handling it. I have pretty much 3 options. First and easiest is just throw everything away. Terry Murphy has been kind enough to offer his assistance in helping us to do that. One other option would be to put everything on the Cypress Wood classified page for giveaway. The administrators have expressed an interest in that prior to when I got the new furniture. And another option would be to just ask the residents at the pool if anybody wants any of this, and this has to be done within a week. I don't want everything hanging around there forever. So I have to have a time frame, but once we decide what to do and how to do it. These are some pictures that I'm sorry, but my printer ran out of ink. But these are the things, just read what it says. This is what I want to throw out, pass it down. This would be usable for maybe somebody, I don't know. Those 2. And there are 6 chairs that I would like to keep and repaint. They are sling chairs. They are very good quality. They just need to be repainted like I did with the strap chairs. I think I did a pretty good job there, so I think they'll look nice. And they're stackable, so we could use those for extra chairs as we have. The other things I don't really care about. But I just need advice from you guys, what you want me to do with it.
I think the tables we should bring over here and replace the ones that we use for the smoker section, that have been used as target practice for rambunctious guests, and those would probably need to go.
I'm sorry. In the pictures, there are 2 that are usable right now.
Okay.
The other 4 if it were me, I would retop them. Because I already retopped 4 of them way back. But they have really good bases. It's a wrought iron table. It just needs a new top. So if you want to bother with it, just let me know. I'll do whatever you guys want. But I would like to keep the 6 sling chairs. So I can repaint them.
Bob, was this part of the asset package that you had to buy? So ownership of this stuff is yours.
Right. So I'll go over there and look and see what we want to take over here,
Okay.
and then whatever else refurbishing. I don't like selling it. We just donate it to the social committee or for the pool party or something like that. We can just do that. It sounds like a win-win situation for all.
My only comment, Pam, is I think it should go on to classifieds so that the whole community has an opportunity
That's fine.
to take
Yes,
advantage
I
of
know
it.
the administrators, and like I said, they had expressed an interest in it, but I don't want to sell it. I would just forgive away.
Okay. Or ask for donations to go toward the social committee or.
Yeah, we can ask ask it that way.
That's
I'll
fine.
ask it out, but just,
That'll work.
because I have to find the funds.
That's it.
Okay. All right, so the next section is, social club. Tim Weiss has been nagging on me for weeks now about cornhole and, casino trips. I'm gonna turn it over to Tim here.
So I get the whole, I get the whole 20 minutes or?
No, you don't have the whole 20 minutes. I can do it in 20 minutes.
Take it anyway, so.
But talk about cornhole first, if you will, please, because that was one of the things that we brought out in our survey, and there was some support for that. And it is something that we can put together without any costs.
Well, that's the core, well, what I'm looking for in the amenities committee, from my standpoint, is things that we can do to bring more people involved with our amenities, or create some amenities that bring more of our 2,000 and so people in. Cornhole, I got introduced to it, and we called it bean shoes, bean bags with like a horseshoe game with similar rules in the early 1980s when I owned a pub. And our softball team, one of the players made a set that, I don't know where he came up with it, but we took it to every tournament we had, and everybody wanted to play. The other teams and the fans and everybody wanted to play. So I came up with the bright idea that I was gonna make them and sell them. Well, my cousin and I started a assembly line in his garage, and we made about 30 sets. And our idea of marketing wasn't the best, so we sold all those, and I got into the advertising business, and that kind of went away. But now it's really taken off as cornhole. My idea, and I want your approval, is that we maybe offer it here on the patio, like on a Sunday afternoon with the people that aren't watching NFL games. And maybe have some tournaments in the future and see how it goes. It's just something that anybody that can walk and swing their arm can do it. And I made up rules where a young child could do it, and we'd move them up from the regulation. Or if the ladies couldn't throw it, you know, it'd be like playing horseshoes and not being able to throw it all the way. Well, we adopted the rules, but we're looking for some people in here that might have a game that they let us use, or bring it up and teach us if we've got any experts at it. I'm gonna buy a set. It's the official sets that are well made, that are solid wood, that we could actually have tournaments if we wanted to, are between $119 and $139. I'm gonna buy a personal set, bring it up, and we'll try it out. I was hoping that somebody else maybe had a set that would help, and I'm looking for volunteers to help teach and play and promote it, because Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock, 2 to 6, nice out on the patio. You can get a hamburger, you can just come and watch and laugh and enjoy it, or you can participate. We can come up with all kinds of ideas, but it would not be a cost on your, in the CCA fees. So that's one idea. You got any questions?
So, what you're proposing, Tim, would be to use the patio area back here.
Paver patio.
Yeah,
The paver patio. Right?
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, on a Sunday afternoon.
yeah, and then people could be inside on the tables, eating and drinking, and we
May
could
drive
bring
some additional traffic.
Yeah, sounds great, that might be great idea.
So maybe the way to find some cornhole boards that are tucked away in people's garages is put something together on
advertise it, put it on our
Facebook,
website. That was,
website.
and I wanted to see how everybody at the table felt if they had any questions or.
I have no objection.
Tim, I think I have a set at the pool.
You might have?
For kids. It's a plastic one.
You can do it with plastic. That was our original idea, was we were gonna manufacture it with plastic. We never got that far. Good idea.
And when are you thinking of starting?
I would say in the middle of January, once we could get it organized. I just need your approval to move forward.
Do you anticipate any conflict with golf carts parking out there?
Well, we could, there's plenty of room out there.
Well, we could do it on the grass too.
We could do it on the
This time of year,
grass.
It's not wet like it is in the summertime.
Right.
In the summer would be more challenging, there'll be less golf carts and stuff.
Right, and as long as we moved them every time, we wouldn't be ruining the grass. If you stay in the same spot like you do.
Yeah, they're gonna have to be pulled in.
Yeah,
They will
and-
disappear.
And the one that I'm gonna buy comes with a real nice carrying case, and everything fits inside of it, so it'll be a 2 foot by,
They're gonna have to be pulled
yeah,
inside.
oh yeah, or take it home.
Or if they don't get taken inside, they will be taken home by somebody.
Right, right.
So.
Yeah, I mean,
And they.
they're small, I mean, it's half of the table.
Right, right, yeah.
It's not an issue, yeah.
Jim, does this set come with some, board where you install both ends?
This one doesn't, but we could certainly get a whiteboard or something to make it, or, yeah.
I mean,
That would, yeah.
that gets the competition, the juices going.
Sure.
As it grows.
Yeah,
You have to have bean bags as well,
pardon me,
the bean bags that you throw.
they come with it. Now, I haven't looked at
We had
it.
ours made, we had to order them, you can order them on
Yeah,
Amazon
yeah.
and they're very reasonable.
Well, I'm gonna order a set, and then if anybody comes up with another set, we can get it started. I'll come up with a date, and, we'll get it advertised. Sure. That's okay with everybody?
Any objections? Many, or any questions?
Great.
All right, have at it, Tim. All right, we're going to talk about casino trips.
The other idea that you came up with, well, you've been to the casino, but I haven't been to the casinos around here, but one thing that we could do to interest our people in our community is set up casino trip, see how it goes. I've looked into it, kinda looked into it. The bus, I don't know what the cost would be. I have to tell them how many and, what dates. But normally it's on a Tuesday. Normally they pick up around 8 o'clock here. We'd have to arrange that to see where we can, because we don't wanna interfere with the parking lot. We wanna make sure that if people had to drive, or maybe we could put them up at each roadway, I don't want, back or right there. We just, I've looked at it, that'll work out. It's just a matter that we don't wanna say park in the golf course parking lot, because we might be full that day, but it's Tuesdays normally. You get there about 11, and you leave for home. If this is in Tampa, Hard Rock, you leave for home at 4 in the afternoon. So I thought, well, I'd rather change those hours because of the traffic. But somebody said, well, it doesn't matter if you're on a bus and you're laughing and talking and meeting new people, because that's an opportunity also to meet your neighbors, and maybe we'll end up with 2 buses. 50 to 55 is what we want to shoot for. I haven't talked to anybody yet that said they wouldn't want to do it, so but keep that in mind. If you've got people and you want to let me know. Again, we'll do that after the holidays are over.
Again, I think probably the best way, Tim, to pursue it is just to see, put something out there on Facebook, and see if we've got any interest.
Well, that's, I was thinking, put out there the 50 to sign up.
Right.
And then we can go from there. If we, you know, if it signs up in 2 days, we might wanna say, well, if we can get another 50, we'll take 2 buses. But I know they did it, you said they used to do it across the street.
Yeah, we do it a couple times a year where we went to the Victory Casino over here on the
Well,
coast.
we could try that, so I could check into both of them, but most of the time they have good perks that they give you.
Yeah, for your, get a little bit of player money, get, generally, lunch,
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
so anyway, I'll come up with a number and then we'll put it out there to see.
We'll see how many degenerate gamblers we've got.
I mean, there, you know, like somebody said, well, everybody's happy on the way over. There's very-
That's why you have an open bar coming back.
But anyway, anybody got any thoughts, any objections or anything on that?
No, I think that's a good idea.
Okay,
Okay.
that's all I've got.
Very good, Dan.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. We'll do it on time. One of the other things, and I guess I've got a couple of specific questions. We had a couple of people last month present to us, different requests for using some of the facilities. And Bob, did it come to fruition that our, exercise group has used any of the indoor facilities
Not
so
yet.
far? Okay. It is a balance between the meetings that go on in here, paid events that go on in here, and then people who want to hold, for lack of a better term, maybe a club type facility where, event where they're doing cards or, you know, we've had a couple of events where we've had some lecture type things, we've had a couple of events where we've had the grief counseling, Tim, that you helped to arrange. But it brings up a dilemma, and that is priority. Use rules, and what are these rooms best designed to be used for? And you know, who's gonna do the setup, cleanup, all those kinds of things. Then beyond that, we get into, we talked about resurfacing a court over here for pickleball, and how that might work. Now we've got potential, some other activities. So I think we've kind of come to a juncture where maybe it's time to put together some facilities use rules. And I brought this up at the last meeting. Didn't have anybody on the committee who jumped on it and said they wanted to do that. So I'll ask again. I pulled off of a couple different places, some different rule sets. I've got one here from Lake Ashton. I've got some from some smaller facilities, some larger facilities. And there's probably more here than what we would need, but it might generate some ideas. One of the things that, again, came out of our survey, and you'll be hearing this in January, is that we want activities. We don't want anything that adds to our costs, but it's also a fine balance between what this community is and what this community isn't. It isn't a 55-plus community where you're going to have an activities director and something going on every day of the week. We've got younger families, we've got, you know, senior families. We've got to kind of try to put together something that makes sense for everybody, which would be, again, part of these use guidelines. So I'll ask again, is there anybody on this committee that wants to devote their time to trying to come up with a draft on the use rules? Or is there anybody against this idea, or is there any discussion that anybody has? Mr. Scheider, you look like you're contemplating.
I was waiting to hear, I mean, I'll be more than happy to try to condense that and put it in a format that's not you know, that's not so perfectly tailored, and then we can start from that and just decide, you know, what are the things that make sense to put in there. I'll be happy to do that. I do that because I feel sorry for you, because you got no volunteers. Merry Christmas.
Kevin,
Kevin, yes.
I think, it might be time for us, you know, cause I'm working on some things that aren't gonna cost us in our dues. But it might be time, because we're having a very successful year, and the golf course, one of the reasons that the income is up on the golf course is because of the decisions that were made last year with the management group and how the golf course looks. You don't get extra play when the golf course is looking like crap, when it's a 3 and now it's on its way to a 7. And, you know, that's why we can start looking at resurfacing the tennis courts for, if it's not pickleball, it could be shuffleboard. Or, you know, there's a lot of things, but we gotta start making it look nice to keep our property values up, and it's, you know, if it's not gonna cost us an arm and a leg, we need to look at that from this committee, and then give it to the TAC committee, and then give it to the president. Because that's the procedure, that's what we're here for, is the amenities. And this year has been very successful in my eyes, in a lot of ways. And the numbers don't lie. And the number of people playing, we've got a great, and we've got a beautiful swimming pool. And it's paid for. And it, you know, we paid for it. Now we still are paying that amount that as if we're making the pool to be done over, so we can look in the future at spending some money on amenities. I'm looking at stuff to make people realize that we're thinking about them. But we also need to look at where our money needs to go.
Sure, exactly.
And now before I get off on another tangent, you brought up the grief committee. That was on my list. But we've started the grief committee. I took 8 weeks at Lake Ashton with hospice, and it's an 8-week course. We're starting that here on the 14th. Every Tuesday for 8 weeks, we'll have a meeting in the club room from 10:30 to noon for anybody that wants to go to grief counseling. It's a wonderful course. It's helped me a lot with my loss. And also, 2 days from now, we have the third of 3 monthly sessions in the club room, Thursday. And this was kind of a trial. People can see kind of what they're going to get into for on the 8th, but this is the third one. The first 2 we had 10, and we had 8 the second one, and that's a good number. I'm hoping to have a dozen or so in the club room for those 8 weeks. The lady from hospice comes in and does it. I don't have anything to do with it. I'm probably not even allowed in the room now that I've gone through it, but I wish I could be. But if you got anybody in this room that you know that is grieving over a loss, it's an awesome course.
How is this being advertised now?
It's on Facebook. Yeah. Any questions?
Well, you bring up a good point, Tim, and that is, money. Get your checkbook out. It's gonna be tough this year. There's no question about it, you know, we have some definite looming holes in the budget. We have some possible expenses that are out there that we're unbudgeted for. Well, I hate to stop forward progress. So I think we need to get creative this year, and if that means that we put in some sweat equity projects on some things, such as trying to resurface one of these courts, maybe that's what we need to do. So it's great when we have contractors come in and just take over, and that's the preference. But if we need to look at alternatives, and we'll look at alternatives. In terms of, Scott, I know this wasn't really a budget discussion tonight, but in terms of where you kind of see things landing, I know we were talking about maybe 17,000 or so shortfall in the amenities budget for this year. Do you see that
10 to
continuing?
15, yeah, 10 to 15, but, you know, we've seen some things spike, you know, that can't control, like insurance, utilities, and things, so, see how that's up.
So we'll see where we end up. The numbers look good coming from the operation. We should see a good return this year. Won't pay for everything that we've invested in, of course, but it's certainly going to pay a good chunk of it. And we'll see where we're at, but I agree with him, we can't stop our forward progress in trying to make our facilities top notch. We just might have to get more creative this year. Any other?
Is this a blank break?
This is a place where you can say
This is a
something.
spot where I can get something in. One of the projects out there that I think everybody's seen some success in is what we've been doing with the front fence. And so let me give you an update on, even though that doesn't formally belong in this committee, I don't think it belongs to anybody at the board, but we've met with the first fence contractor, went over the entire 1,380 feet of fence or whatever it is, to identify all the parts that need replacing. The fence itself is 95% good, and that's the most expensive part. But it looks like most of the poles are gonna have to be replaced. We're waiting for the formal bid to come back from the first contractor. We have two other contractors lined up, but we wanna be sure we have a clear understanding of what we're talking to them about. And I don't know if we're gonna, the holidays kind of get in the way. We expect to have that first quote back this week, and then the other two are, they're anxious, chomping at the bit. So I think that probably close to the end of the year, Mark and I will be able to give you an idea of what it's gonna take to finish the fence. The golf course took the 29 palm trees out. Julio got that done like in 2 days, which, thank you, Bob, for letting him do that. And so we're making.
That's not a thing that would have been in their contract, that's something that they
That
volunteered
was
to do.
outside their contract. That's just the attitude that he has about this community and the golf course, and he looks at anything that's adjacent to the golf course and he wants to clean it up. I mean, you look at the kind of work he's doing now, so at any rate, we're gonna get close to having some clear information regarding that fence, so that the presidents can discuss it and determine where they wanna put that in the pecking order.
So we've got two upcoming events in January. January 10th, we'll be sitting down with presidents and vice presidents and talking through the community engagement survey, making that presentation, getting the results of the survey, and where do we go from here. And then on January 24th, we're having a meeting to talk about the CCA and LLC's financials. We're putting together a process where all the presidents will be receiving copies of the financials on a quarterly basis this year, so that'll be a new piece of information you'll be able to sort through. But we need to put all that kind of in context and make sure that everybody is understanding of the relationship between the two entities and how funds interplay and how decisions are made, et cetera, et cetera. So those are two upcoming briefings that the amenities committee will be holding. And hopefully that'll give CCA presidents better perspective on things and allow them to be able to roll that information down to their HOA members. Okay, that's all I have. Let me ask, is there anybody here on the committee that has comment, questions?
I've got a comment. I'm sure you don't wanna hear it, but I mentioned more than once, we've had a good year in my estimation. One of the things I came up with was our fence is being built. Our borders are secure. We got money in the bank. We don't have $33 trillion in debt. And there's no more taxes for next year. Zero increase in our dues. So I think that's a good year.
Sounds fairly successful.
I think it's a good year. I think we should dwell on the positives and maybe, work together to make it even better. And I think this committee can do that. I think we can make a lot of positive things happen. We need what do we need everybody? We need 2,165 homes. Is that the number?
Divided by two. Divided by two.
Well, I was saying how many people?
Over 3,000.
3,000. But anyway, if you look at it compared to our government, we're doing a hell of a job.
Yeah, but
Any other questions or comments? All right, so this is a portion of tonight's meeting where I'll, if we have any residents who'd like to make a comment or questions?
Kevin,
Yeah.
I couldn't see the numbers very good. We're gonna make money in the pub this year?
That's a tough question, Kevin.
That's why I asked it.
And I'll say that I don't know at the moment.
Okay,
And partly because we really need to sort out general overhead solely at the pub operations. All of the key indicators are good. Our labor costs look good, food costs look good. So what I call our prime costs all look real good at this point. But when you throw in some of the things that are uncontrollable, I don't know yet. And
let me ask you this real quick.
Sure.
Are we gonna make an overall profit? The golf course being up and so forth?
Absolutely.
Okay, good deal.
Absolutely.
Well, when you say we make a profit, I thought Bob got all the profit.
No.
I'm talking about the profit, yeah. However, that's divided.
I thought the LLC got all the profit,
No.
and he only has to pay the water taxes.
No,
No.
the LLC has 150 units of assessment times 1,000, 1187.
Right.
1185, so that's, once we eclipse that number, yes, the remaining money would go to the LLC. It's not gonna, it's never gonna get that high.
So, the LLC actually returns money to the CCA?
Last year it was $40,000.
$40,000 last year.
Actually owed was 177, correct?
What was-
177,000 is really what was owed, 150 times
Well, yeah,
1185.
based on the,
Yeah.
based
But
on.
we did get
150 unit
40,000, which
assessment.
is, we got some.
Yeah,
And we will this year too. Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
So it sounds as if, when you talk budget, that you don't have a definitive large-scale plan for 2024, like you did for years with the pool. Is that correct? Is there not something?
When you're talking, you mean when you're talking about improvements?
Correct,
That are within
correct.
the budget? No, we have a list of projects.
But nothing slated for 2024?
There's no one outstanding large project for this year, no. we're actually have whittled that list down fairly well over the years. And we're down to things like, park pass and sports courts and those types of things. Park bar and, bathrooms out here on the, you know, and beyond that is, we wanna hold that cost down so that we're not coming back to the community and saying, well, because we have this huge project out here, we wanna bump the assessment. You know, hopefully we're at a level of stable funding at this point that allows predominantly for the cash register to ring harder and harder and harder and reduce overall that spend on behalf of the CCA. So what you have to understand, and I call this a partnership, but it's not really a formal legal partnership. Bob is the operator, and the amenities committee is a partner in that operation. We contribute roughly 35%, which goes solely to greens, or keeping the grass green, keeping the electricity on, paying the taxes, paying the insurance. And we don't pay for somebody's state generator, and we don't certainly pay for any salaries or anything like that. Those all come from the cash register, from the operations. So that side stays fairly stable. It's these projects that we've tried to knock off over the years. And the big, like I said, the big remaining things are the sports courts, cart paths, we heard about the fence, the sign out here is gonna be addressed. Those aren't within our budget here in amenities necessarily, but they're within the overall budget.
My understanding is the money's been put aside for the sign though, is that not correct?
I'm sorry?
My understanding was the money has been put aside for the sign. I know not from amenities, but is that not correct?
Yes.
Some of that money has, it's 16,000.
16,000, so. There's a reserve of 16 and then waiting, there's gonna be a presentation in January, I believe, with the options to do the sign. It'll be up to the board to determine whether we do good, better, best, that approach. It'll get discussed and sifted through for that, you know, and that could require a little bit of the 2024 budget, which is what we planned for. We have, whereas this year the pool was a very dynamic and obvious, you know, thing that we got done, improvement that we got done. Next year, it's gonna be more a piece of this, piece of that, a piece of this, was why we were able to keep, you know, the assessment from an increase. We just felt like we didn't have anything, and if we did, we would just look at reserves and determine if that's the smart thing.
And correct me if I'm characterizing this wrong, Scott, but we have almost a kind of a rolling 130,000 in there that goes towards these kinds of projects and reserves. And this year, in order to help keep things stable, we didn't borrow against that, but we lessened that contribution.
I think what will be different next year is that Chuck Giorgio has been leading this reserve study charge that serves a purpose to just expose to our entire community all of the things that we have a fiscal responsibility for at some point in time. And being aware of that helps us to not get hit with a pool repair in 1 year that was 130,000. That should have been spread out over 20 years of filling up the coffer and then making the improvement. And so we're gonna go through a little bit of a paradigm shift in how we look at how we do our budgets, not only the annual budget for the next year, but looking forward with data, you know, 5 years, 7 years, something like that, so that we don't, look, we put a 15% cap, or 12.5% cap on our budget limitation. Lord, we should never even need that. We should be where we're at and just be able to navigate through and keep things steady so our community can get away from the fear of a major increase on the assessment at the master level. It's a good question on your part, by the way.
Other questions? Yeah, Mark.
Kevin, do you think that in January, I know not to discuss the details specifically, but do you think that we could get an answer from the presidents whether you would like, or whether we could continue on with the videotaping that we have been doing a year or so ago? Could we at least get that answer?
Yeah.
The details, I think we can fill in, but
I think the resolution was that we would ask their blessing to kind of conduct a trial run and see if that wasn't something they wanted to do. So, yes. Yeah. Other questions? John?
A trial run, I thought he offered to do a trial run, you talking about someone else doing a trial?
No.
Mark?
Having Mark do it? Someone mentioned that the fence is not part of the amenities, and it's not part of the CCA, and it is owned by John Wood. I wonder who owns the fence, or who's responsible for the fence, if it's not the CCA or the LLC? Who is it?
It's part of it is part of the leased land, it's on one of the golf course parcels, so it would be amenities, except that the landscape committee and the road, it's kind of encapsulated into all three committees. Mark, with the most knowledge in the fence, kind of spearheaded it, but it is on the, one of the 5 parcels as part of the lease. So I guess ultimately it would be amenities, but it hasn't been treated that way by the board this whole year. Because Mark is taking the project on himself. Is that right, Bill? I'm shaking.
That's right, it's an ad hoc project, meaning it's not specifically, it's not a project that'll be repeating itself. So there's no one to identify it to from that standpoint. It is part of it's part of the community, and it's not fence. It's an important part of our community.
Well, what is the thought to take the money out of the CCA dues that are collected from the residents and put that into upgrading the fence, which belongs to John Wood? Is that the plan?
Yeah, it has to come from somewhere, John.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
here's the thing, John Wood is gonna maintain that fence over the years. I mean, this community's been turned over to the CCA and through the golf course lease to the CCA. So we're gonna have to take care of it one way or the other.
I thought that the new lease said that Bob was in charge of the amenities now. And that all the obligations of the lease that we talked about in 2017 and signed into in 2018, all of those obligations, according to the owner and the landlord, as he said, you iron the owner and the landlord, and you're gonna do it this way, according to him, all the obligations of that lease that the CCA had are now the obligations of the LLC.
That's essentially true, because the lease is
Well,
wholly assigned.
it's in this written document that he signed to make part of your
It's
lease.
been wholly assigned.
So I would assume
It's always
it's
been.
essentially
It's
true.
always been.
He's the owner and he is also the landlord. And he is the one who's saying how it will be. So if we're not obligated anymore to the obligations that we had when we negotiated that lease,
It's the same thing, it hasn't changed.
But we're obligated.
no, the LLC is now obligated to that lease.
And it was the same way on
Not-
day one. It was assigned in that original document, 7.2.
Well,
Seven
ironically,
point one, it would be wholly assigned to the.
Bob, ironically, okay, we'll make you pay for the fence. Are you gonna give us back our assessment at the end of the year? You're gonna pay for the fence? Half a dozen of one, 6 of another.
Right,
I mean,
So,
if you
so
want
for
the
instance,
fence
that,
done, if the community wants the fence done, the community's gonna have to do the fence, or it's not gonna get done. It really boils down to that. We can slice and dice it all you want, but
Who owns it after the community pays for it?
what does that matter? We're leasing it. It's a buck.
for the next 45 years.
Who's leasing it?
You're gonna look at it, it's your home. I mean,
Read the new lease, there's a new lease. We have sublet it from the CCA to the LLC.
It's not a new lease.
It's not
the same
new,
exact
John.
document.
You know, John, you sat in those meetings, and here is what you wanna call a different lease. It is not. It is the very same operating lease. In the prior 5 years, we had one little sentence in there that said the lease was signed, okay? Now, rather than have one sentence, we have a 7-page or 8-page document that talks about how the lease is assigned. And it cleared up a number of holes that were out there in the past and put context around them. So while you are characterizing that as a new lease, it's no new way of doing business. It's always the way it's been.
I don't believe that you understand it. It says here, Kevin, the landlord also agrees to the assignee assuming the April 1st, 2023, the payment of rent and performance of all duties and obligations as provided in the lease. That's the LLC he's talking
Yes.
about. Will take care of all obligations, meaning that
Which
if
was the
something has
same
to
way
be
in the prior
repaired,
lease.
if something has to be repaired, it will be done by the LLC, and the revenues, the money will come out of the revenues that the LLC is collecting, no longer going into our
And we
account.
can do that. You know what, Scott just said, we can do that, no problem.
He
Not a
thought
problem at
something
all.
about,
But what's gonna
Dude.
happen is that $80,000 number you saw up there in terms of the profit goes away. It won't be returned to the CCA at the end of the day. So, what pocket do you want to take it out of?
I think it's a better idea that the administration of spending that money is not left to Bob, but left to the board, which is what we do.
well, what we do is wind up, Bill, what we do is take dues, and we pay the cost of operating the amenities, and then the revenue from the amenities, we take and buy assets that become owned purely by Bob Shady. That's what we do. Take a look at it. He even said that at the last meeting. He was on.
31% of the assets belong to the community, yeah.
What?
The expenses.
The expenses, 31% of it, right?
We choose to do that.
We choose to contribute to the cost of operating the amenities and let the revenues that come in from that operation allow Bob Shea to buy assets that become his personal property. That's what we choose to do.
What are you talking about?
Who owns the new equipment that he bought?
Of course, Bob owns that it's not leased. But that was purchased, it's purchased from the LLC.
It's purchased from the revenues of what we leased originally from John Wood. That's what it's purchased from, the revenues that
John, you know what?
those amenities
On the
bring in.
24th, we're gonna talk about decision-making and how funds are spent. Maybe that's a good place to bring up those questions, because I think you'll see that you're not on track here.
Been talking about this for 3 months.
Yeah.
The fence, I see we trimmed it, looks good, the vegetation, but I see it coming back up. Do we treat that at all, or we're just gonna let it grow again? I see the I see it coming back up already, just driving by, and my eyesight's not that good, but. Yeah, we need to get that under control, so it
Yeah,
doesn't. ruin the new fence.
Jasmine was sprayed, and will go through a drying process, okay?
We're gonna take care of that.
It shouldn't be blooming, because the company, we had come in to do that, and it was actually the spray company that does the ponds. We'll bring them back. I think that Mark told me they would be back at 6 months to respray it. It was all part of doing.
I just don't want to have it all over again.
Oh, we do not want that
That's
jasmine
crazy.
in that.
We're not, if we maintain it monthly or Are we
No,
couple
it'll
months?
be, well, there certainly is concern about how well DOT is gonna take care of their side.
Well, we can't count on that.
Well, we'll hound them, they're not gonna get away with it, but, on the golf course side, the golf course will maintain up.
Yeah, along the fence line, that's what I'm saying, because you see some starting to sprout up again. That's fine.
Okay, it'll be taken care of.
Good.
No, go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Two quick questions about the golf course. So, as I've gone over the golf course, I've been here about 2 years. Every hole at the start that is supposed to have like one of those little ball washers and stuff, and a lot of them, let's say 3 or 4 are missing, and they've been missing for 2+ years. Is it, how much would it be to replace those? If we want to be a world-class or top-notch golf place, I think it's important to have one at every stop. It's frustrating, you see the pole there, they've obviously been knocked out, and it wouldn't be that much money, right? Money's,
Up to the contractor to decide.
what's that?
That'd be up to the contractor to decide whether they wanna replace that to you, because that's what we pay them to do. We don't supply any of that.
The contractor is who?
Cypress Golf Course Services.
The ones who maintain,
Yeah.
the grass.
They cut the grass.
Yeah.
Right, but the ball washer,
Yeah.
they would have to replace those even if they weren't here beforehand?
Yep.
Okay.
As is where,
It's in their contract, so.
as is where it's, I can ask them.
And the other thing, is there any liability that I don't know, I've never seen any repairs done to the cart path. Is there any liability in how bad that thing is in some places?
Sure.
With us leasing these carts, that we're gonna be held accountable if, I think it's like hole 3 or 4, where there's that big divot, there's no sign, it's not spray painted yellow caution or anything. If someone smacks that, they could do some damage to a cart.
Why we provide liability, that's why we have liability, and why anybody who drives their car on the course has to have liability.
No, against,
Well,
yeah,
I think he's asking, when you do your turn in 3 years on those carts, if there's damage to them because of.
well, my understanding of the law is that there has to be some kind of reasonable care on the cart path, right? As the leasee, owner, whatever, there has to be reasonable care done. I don't know what's that?
That's true of any property.
I don't know what is being done on a consistent basis to keep that in.
Nothing.
I mean, I haven't seen anything done in 2 years. I haven't seen one piece of gravel dumped in a hole in 2 years.
No, they have replaced parts,
Yeah.
some parts of the
We replaced
golf
asphalt
path, I'm
sections.
sorry.
We replaced asphalt sections. of it.
Last 2 years?
Yeah.
Right on hole 1, I know they did last year, or this,
Right.
okay? I know I agree with you, I play golf, there's a lot of bad spots out there, but just to be correct, they have done some pieces.
No, that's why I'm asking the committee is what is done on a continual basis? Because if it is our responsibility to keep that in working order, there's spots that are not working. And what liability do we have with it, knowingly not repairing that and leasing new golf carts? What are we gonna be held accountable for anything? Just something to think about.
Sure.
Thank you.
I have one very quick question. On that land that we leased to the cows.
Show cows.
Show cows, that we put the new fence up, do we still mow that area?
No.
The
Okay.
cows mow it. I saw them doing it the other day.
I know, I saw them there too. There was a piece of equipment over near there. I didn't know if that was going on to that spot. What's that?
The person, the company that's leasing it.
Oh, okay, all right. And then the second part of the question is, and forgive me, I can't get out to walk the fence, but I still think that we do not have enough no trespassing signs on that fence. And that was one of the agreements that we had by leasing that parcel, putting the fence up, that it was supposed to have the proper number of signs, so many feet at each corner, and so forth. I don't see them, unless I'm
There,
blind.
the felony, no trespassing felony signs, I think there's a couple up, but I think there's others that are on order. I don't know the distance, I think it's 500 feet.
It's 500
between
feet.
signs.
But at the
This one's
corners,
there, and that's the basis by which the signs will be posted on the outside portion of that.
Okay, so in theory, we don't have it posted yet.
I thought they were up.
Okay, because
I
there's-
might have- Once again, Mark's taking care of that.
We talk
But-
about the liability. Somebody who wants to fish, had been fishing there, goes over that fence and gets hurt, that's our responsibility, because that's our fence. So we have to get that posted as quickly as possible.
You have to, they think they're issued by the sheriff's board. Think.
That's it. Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Another question for Bob. Bob, is there a possibility that we could have maybe 4 times a year an LLC meeting with the community, with the residents?
LLC meeting.
Yeah, you know, the company that you own.
That's what we're doing here, that's what this is.
No, this is the amenity.
Right, which has the authority over the LLC. There's no relationship between the LLC and the community. That's why it was set up that way. So this would have to go, if the amenities committee wants to have a meeting with the LLC president, I'll be there. Like I am now.
Anything else? All right, thank you all
No,
for
thanks for your
coming.
time, guys and gals.